Nintendo Direct that is all but confirmed at this point. NateTheHate, who is one of the most reputable leakers, has been saying this Direct is happening, as well as SwitchForce, and it all makes sense since we really don't know anything about what Nintendo is doing in 2026. And Mario's 40th anniversary is, of course, this month. I know we don't have any news right now for what will be happening, or even if anything will be happening, and that's led to a lot of skepticism among Nintendo fans saying how nothing will happen. While anything is possible, it would break a trend of Nintendo celebrating Mario's anniversaries every year that ends with a 0 or a 5. To stay updated on all things Nintendo, be sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications because we're going to be having a lot of big news next week. At least I hope we do. Besides Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and soon-to-be Kirby Air Riders, there haven't been big releases exclusive to the Switch 2. Sure, we're getting Metroid Prime 4 and a new Pokemon this year, but those are Switch games that will just be upgraded on the Switch 2. This first year has been pretty content light for the Switch 2, with a lot of games showcased just being these Switch 2 edition games. Mario Party Jamboree, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Kirby, and more I probably forgot, and these were all hyped up by Nintendo, but I know myself and many others just really don't care that much. We want new games to justify the premium price of the Switch 2, not just remasters or ports or upgraded editions, whatever you want to call them. When the Switch 1 came out in 2017, we got Breath of the Wild, which, to be fair, released the same day on the Wii U. We got Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 2, Mario plus Rabbids, and of course the big game 1-2 Switch. This year there's no big Switch 2 exclusive planned for the fall, and we've only gotten or will get 2 system sellers in the first calendar year, unless you want to count Kirby Air Riders one. It's very uncharacteristic of Nintendo to not have a Mario platformer at least announced for their new system within the first few months of a system's release. That's what leads me to believe that this is intentional because they've been saving it for the 40th anniversary announcement. Like I said in another video, we're not getting a new 3D Mario this year because we already got Bonanza. It would make no sense to have that compete with Bonanza for the holiday season. But who's to say we won't get another 2D platformer or a remake, maybe even something like a new Paper Mario? If Nintendo wants to go down this route of announcing an RPG instead of a traditional platformer, I think it will either be a new Paper Mario or a sequel to Super Mario RPG. Super Mario RPG was the long-awaited remake of the SNES Classic, and it sold great. Then TTYD came out last year and sold out as well. I think it's possible we get another Paper Mario since it has been 5 years since the last original one, and Nintendo has never actually went longer than 5 years without releasing a new game in the series. But then again, you could say TTYD was just released as a remaster. I think it's much likelier we get a Super Mario RPG sequel. We've never gotten a true sequel, and Nintendo knows people still love this game. This would be a system seller for a lot of people, and I think Nintendo has to be working on something for this. I think Super Mario RPG Remake was probably testing the waters, and if it was a test, I can't see how it didn't pass. But maybe Nintendo won't do that yet since it's not a mainline game. The next most likely thing, besides the rumors of Super Mario Maker 3 or any All-Star Collection that's been talked about a lot, would be a remake. Sure, we got a remaster of a few games back in 2020 in the All-Star Collection, but a remake? We've actually never gotten a Super Mario remake for a main series game except Super Mario 64 DS. Super Mario 64 originally released almost 30 years ago, and got a remake 21 years ago on very outdated hardware that was arguably worse than the original Nintendo 64. We got a taste of what modern Mario 64 would look like in Odyssey, and that led to speculation of a remake, but we've seen nothing like that since. Remember, we also got Throwback Galaxy in Galaxy 2. Super Mario 64 is still a great game all these years later, but both versions have shown their age for a long time now. Nintendo could easily make a remake of the original while adding the content added in 64, like new characters becoming playable, maybe even making them more useful because their abilities in Super Mario 64 DS were just kind of trivial. It felt like it was just forced in, so maybe if they made characters to do. And then of course adding some new levels. Something else I would love would be the minigames in the DS version. Like, I just want to play poker with Luigi again. Is that too much to ask? And again, like I said, an All-Stars collection of some sort is a lot likelier, but I've already talked about that a lot. Something else I would love is some sort of Mario collectible. I got the Game & Watch back in 2020, and Nintendo could easily do something like this again, with maybe a Game Boy or GBA. There's already a LEGO Game Boy coming out next month, so why not make a Mario system that plays the Mario Land games on it to cross-promote it? Obviously, the Mario Land games are very accessible, so you wouldn't need to buy it to play them, but you would buy this for nostalgia or just to own a cool piece of Nintendo history. Besides Mario, it's almost guaranteed we'll get some info about Metroid Prime 4 as well. The release date, which I think will be very soon, there's rumors that it's even going to be in September, so that would probably be right after the Direct, or maybe like a week after. We'll get some Pokemon info as well, but again, these aren't Switch 2 games, or rather, they're not Switch 2 exclusives. When trying to sell a new system, Nintendo has usually had a lot of games exclusive to that console. Like, think about when the Switch came out. They made no Wii U games after that. And yeah, you could say that's because it was the Wii U. The Wii U sold horribly, and then obviously you couldn't play Wii U games on the Switch. And for the Switch 2, it's different because you can play Switch games on it, and the Switch still has a lot of players on it. But I would think this would be the time that Nintendo wants to take advantage of people who are more likely to spend money on a system. Because even though the Switch 2 is expensive, it is cheaper than the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So if someone's trying to decide which console to get, and they see that the Switch 2 has all these exclusives that they maybe want to try, I think a lot of people will flock to the Switch 2. An issue with this console generation, at least so far in the first 5 years of it or so, have been that these developers really haven't taken advantage of the new hardware. Like, go back a generation to the PS4 and Xbox One. Within 2 to 3 years, there was really no support for the 360 or PS3. And now 5 years into these systems, there's still support. I know a lot of sports games are still coming out on the PS4 and Xbox One, and remember, these are 12-year-old consoles at this point. Seems like a lot of big exclusives are still coming out, or at least maybe now it's just stopping, where these developers will make games for both platforms. And as someone who bought the PS5 shortly after it came out, I want to see developers take more advantage of it instead of continuing to support old hardware. I just really hope Nintendo doesn't keep this trend. I hope within a year or so Nintendo fully embraces the Switch 2. I think Tomodachi Life will probably be one of the last big games for the Switch. I'm sure they're going to have a version of that for both. But you know what? We'll have to see. And the last thing I want to talk about, and something that is just complete speculation, like I haven't seen any rumors or anything for this, is that I just have a gut feeling there's going to be a Zelda remake announced, either of the Oracle games or Minish Cap. Nintendo has remade or remastered a bunch of Zelda games in the past couple generations, but have only remade one 2D game. I could see this being an announcement at the very end with something like a spring 2026 release. But again, I don't know, like, that's complete speculation. Maybe they save it for the 40th anniversary of Zelda, but the anniversaries for Zelda are not anything like they are for Mario. Like for Zelda, the anniversary in 2021, I think we just got a Game & Watch, and that was it, just like with Mario. I do think Link's Awakening came out that same year, but I don't know if it had anything to do with the actual anniversary. Even if we don't get this, I think Nintendo will at least give us a couple surprises for well-known series. Maybe they bring back a series that's kind of forgotten. Maybe there's another entry in Fire Emblem or something. They got to give us some surprises, because I think Nintendo will try to take advantage of the Switch 2, especially in 2026. Because there's really no reason to keep supporting the Switch after like a year if the Switch 2 continues selling as well as it has. They want people to buy their new system. Something like with the PS4 and PS5, they were trying to support both at once by just continually releasing games for both platforms for so long. And you know what? I don't think Nintendo's going to do that. It's only been a few months so far, so I'm not upset at Nintendo continuing to support the Switch, because these games have been in development for a long time, so it would make no sense to only make them on the Switch 2. But again, getting back to the main point of the video, I expect big news next week, whether it's just Mario, whether there's surprises like Zelda. A Direct is all but guaranteed, so I want to know in the comments what you think we're going to get, what you want to see, and then I want you to come back to this video after the Direct, assuming it does happen, and see how correct anyone's predictions were. If you enjoyed this, be sure to hit subscribe and turn on those notifications so you get updated whenever Nintendo does announce something, and be sure to check out my other content. This has been Domain with Game Domain. Thank you for watching.